The 7-step goal setting process. Number 1, decide exactly what you want in every key area of your life. This will immediately set you apart from 80 or 90% of the population. The most important word that I have found in success is clarity.
And clarity is the starting point of all success. It means clarity of thinking. It means thinking clearly, and it extends from thinking clearly to a series of other things. With regard to clarity, it means the ability to determine exactly what it is that you want to be, have, or do in life. And the more I study successful men and women, the more I find that every single one of them, the top 5%, are very clear about where it is they're going and what it is they want to accomplish. You see, we as human beings are goal-seeking organisms. We only function at our very best when we're working toward accomplishing something that is important to us. And in my estimation, 80 to 90% of all the unhappiness, hostility, violence, psychosomatic illness, alcoholism, drug addiction, and so on in our society is caused by people having no sense of direction. They don't know where they're going. As they say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. The key starting point with regard to clarity is to know where it is you're going and what it is you want to be and what it is you want to have and what it is you want to do.
And here's an interesting discovery. The greater clarity you have, the faster you draw into your life the resources necessary to achieve it. So in determining what you want, there's an activity that I teach to the senior executives of billion-dollar corporations, and it's called idealization. So you start off by idealizing your perfect life. You imagine that there are no limitations on what you can do or be or have. Imagine that you have all the time and all the money. You have all the friends and all the contacts, all the education and all the experience that you need to accomplish any goal that you could set for yourself. Imagine that you could wave a magic wand and make your life perfect in each of the 4 key areas of life. If your life was perfect in every area, what would it look like? Now here's the point before we go into the 4 areas. The fear of not achieving your goal, what we call self-limiting beliefs, holds you back more than anything else. And your self-limiting beliefs are not based on reality. That's why you have to constantly think, if I had no limitations, what goals would I set for myself? So let's start with the 4 big areas. The first area has to do with your income and your business and your career. Project forward 5 years. If your income, business, career was perfect 5 years from now, what would it look like? How would it be different from today? How much would you be earning? What kind of work would you be doing? Who would you be working with? What position would you have in your business? We call this the creation of a 5-year fantasy. Just fantasize like a child prior to Christmas. Just imagine that you could create your world perfectly, and what would it look like? And then here's the key question: what would you have to do? What would have to happen? What would be the first step that you would have to take today to begin creating your perfect business and career future? If your goal is to double and triple your income, what is the first step that you would have to take right now? And here's a great discovery. Everybody knows the first step. The first step is clear. Confucius said, a journey of 1,000 leagues begins with a single step. The fact is, the hardest part of success is taking the first step in the direction that you want to go. Remember that. That's what holds most people back. Now, the second area has to do with your family and your relationships. If you could project forward 5 years and your life was perfect, what kind of relationships would you have? What kind of lifestyle would you have? Where would you live? What would you want to do on vacations? What would you want to create for yourself and your family? And remember, clarity is important. Then come back to the present and think into the future and say, what would have to happen starting today for me to create that perfect future? And what would be the first step? The third area has to do with your health. How much would you weigh? How much would you exercise? How much energy would you have? How much time would you take off to rest? If your personal life and health and energy was perfect in every way, how would it be different from today? And what would have to happen to make that come true? And what would be your first step? Now, the last area has to do with your net worth, what we call financial freedom. How much do you want to be able to save and accumulate in the course of your working lifetime? Remember this, your likelihood of achieving your lifelong financial goals increased by 10 times by the very act of writing the number down on a piece of paper. This is so important. Now, in goal setting, the next stage, number 2, is to write it down. Remember we talked about clarity? Francis Bacon once says that writing maketh an exact man. Is when you write your goals down clearly, they take on a power of their own in your mind. You pull them out of the air where they have no substance at all, and you write them down on paper, and now you have something you can touch. Your goals must be in writing. Many people say, oh, I know exactly what I want. And I've met and worked with these people over the years, and you know something? They're almost all failures. They say, oh, I know what I want. I don't have to write it down. Yes, you do, because until you start writing, we find that there's an incredible connection between the head and the hand. And when you start to write goals, you'll be absolutely astonished what comes out on the paper. And when you write a goal down, you engage in what is called a psychoneuromotor activity. You activate your visual powers, your audio powers, and your kinesthetic powers. And whatever you write down, you actually program straight into your subconscious mind, where it starts to work 24 hours a day. Great stuff, let me tell you. Now your goals must be clear, specific, detailed, and measurable. You must write out your goals as if you were placing an order for your goal to be manufactured in a factory at a great distance. And what they would do is they would create your goal, your order, and send it to you exactly as you wrote it down. Albert Einstein said that your goal must be so clear that a 6-year-old child could understand it clearly and explain it to another 6-year-old child and be able to tell you if you had achieved your goal or how close you were. This is why you never say, well, my goal is to be happy, and my goal is to be rich, and my goal is to be popular and meet the right person. These are not goals. These are fantasies. They are wishes. Even crazy people have these wishes. A goal is something that is written down and specific and clear, and your most important goal must be measurable so you know exactly where you are relative to the goal. Now, only 3% of adults have written goals worldwide, and everybody else works for them. In fact, the studies done at Yale and Harvard proved over a 20-30-year period that people with written goals ended up earning and having a net worth 10 times greater than people without goals, holding constant for intelligence, grades, graduation from courses, industries, marital status, and parts of the country. The people who started with goals were 10 times more likely to be successful and were worth 10 times more than the others in the course of a few years.
If all you did in your life was to write down your 10 goals and then take that page and fold it up and put it away somewhere where you wouldn't see it for an entire year, like perhaps in the pages of your Bible, someplace you never look. At the end of the year, you would take it out, and when you opened up your list, you would be both happy and sad. You'll be happy because 8 of your 10 goals will have been accomplished in the most remarkable ways, in ways that you cannot imagine today. The number of coincidences would be beyond belief. And you'll be sad because you wish you had set more goals and bigger goals. Now, does this work? Yes. Does it work all the time? Yes. Does it work all over the world? Yes. I've taught it in 56 countries. And does it work? People come up to me and they always use these words, which you will use in time. And the words are, you won't believe what's happened to me. You won't believe what's happened to me. I'm like in a wedding receiving line when I do a seminar in Kiev after I've been there a year or two before, or in Berlin or in Atlanta. People line up and they say, Mr. Tracy, you won't believe what's happened to me. Mr. Tracy, you won't believe what's happened to me. You won't believe what's happened to me. It's the most amazing thing, and I will believe it, because some of the things that have happened are so astonishing that people just wrote down 10 goals. They could not believe it. One gentleman came up to me and said, in Vancouver, he said, I wrote that exercise down, but I only accomplished 2 of the goals of the 10 in a year. He said, then I went over there, I said, what a lousy method this is. And I went over it, and I realized that the 2 were, the 80-20 rule, worth more than all the others put together. I said, and would make all the others possible in a short period of time. He said, it's an incredible thing. So all it requires is that you write it down. Now, once you've done this, that is not the end, because now we are going to plus this process. We say, so what you're going to do is you're going to review your list of 10 goals and look over these goals, and then ask what one goal, if you could achieve it within 24 hours, would have the greatest positive impact on your life. So imagine that we could wave a magic wand and you could have any one of the goals that you wrote down for the next year, but you could have it within 24 hours. Which one goal would you select? And whatever it is, circle that goal. Which is the one goal if it would have the greatest positive impact on your life? Now, usually it's a financial goal. Sometimes it's a health goal. Sometimes it's a business goal or a relationship or family goal. But which one goal would have the greatest positive impact on your life if you could achieve it? And just circle that goal. Now, this goal becomes your major definite purpose. This becomes the central organizing point of your life for the foreseeable future. Remember, whatever you circle is possible for you to achieve, and sometimes far faster than you realize. But the starting point is to decide what it is in the first place, and then to write it down and
set a deadline. Now, number 3, set a deadline. Set a deadline, and then if necessary, set sub-deadlines on your goal. For example, if you set a 12-month goal to double your income, then you break it down into 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, and then 2 months, 1 month. And then if you're really smart, week by week by week, and some people even break their goals down into daily activities. The more you break your goal down, the more likely it is you will achieve it. And then you complete your big goal one step at a time. Now, your subconscious mind uses deadlines as forcing systems. They drive you consciously and unconsciously toward achieving your goal on schedule. Anais Nin once said that your subconscious can work against you because when you set a big goal, you're disrupting your subconscious. So your subconscious mind will tell you that it's not possible and will attempt to sabotage you. And you know the way your subconscious mind sabotages you? It tells you, you can't achieve this goal. You don't need to write it down. It's okay as long as you know what it is. Because of the fear of failure, what you do is you don't write the goal down, and that way you can't fail. Isn't that clever? And people say, well, if you don't expect anything good, you'll never be disappointed. And these people have no future. You write it down as if by writing it down, it was guaranteed to you. If your goal is big enough, set sub-deadlines. If you want to achieve financial independence, you may set a 10 or 20-year goal and then break it down year by year so that you know how much you have to save and invest each year. If for some reason you don't achieve your goal by the deadline, simply set a new deadline. There are no unreasonable goals, only unreasonable deadlines. And other things can happen that you hadn't expected that will put your deadlines off. Don't worry about it. Just set a new deadline and go back to work. Always when I write down a goal, which I do every day, I say I achieved this goal by this date. So in other words, it's achieved anywhere between now and then. I don't say at the date, but by this date or before this date. But by is my favorite word. I achieve it by June 30th, 2011. I achieve it by December 31st, 2011. Achieve this goal by. And if all you did was this, decide what you want, write it down, and set a deadline, it will change your life forever. I've had people who just staggered at the difference it made in their lives to write these goals down and just set a deadline on them. Now, the 4th key is to identify the obstacles that you'll have to overcome to achieve your goal. You see, between you and any goal that you want to accomplish, there are obstacles. There's something that's holding you back, or you'd already be there. Sometimes I ask people, would you like to double your income? And they say, of course. I said, well, why isn't your income already twice as high? You've been working for years and years. You're smart, you're talented, you're surrounded with opportunities. Some people that you know are earning twice as much as you. Why aren't you? And you know what happens is the first thing you think of are your favorite excuses. Oh, I'm so busy, or I didn't finish high school, or I didn't go to college, or I'm working in the wrong industry. You know, these are just excuses. They're not true, but they're ways that you step on your own brakes and hold yourself back. Now, there's a very powerful principle called the principle of constraints. This principle of constraints is, I think, revolutionary. And what it says is that there's always one limiting factor or constraint or bottleneck between you and your goal that sets the speed at which you achieve your goal. So the question is, once you're clear about your goal, and let's say it's a financial goal, is what is the bottleneck that holds you back? For example, I will say to a company, what is your goal? Well, it's to grow in sales and profitability. What's the constraint? More sales. If you had more sales, would you achieve the goal? Yes. So what is the constraint behind that? Better trained salespeople. Maybe it's better products and services. Maybe it's better pricing. Maybe it's new markets. But keep asking, what's holding you back? What sets the speed? Now, the 80-20 rule applies to constraints. In 80% of cases, the obstacles between you and your goals are inside you. They're internal. They're not on the outside. So the mark of the superior person when they have a problem is they always say, what is it in me that's holding me back? What is it in me that's holding me back? Is it a lack of discipline, lack of time management, lack of a skill, lack of the ability to perform a particular area? What is it in me that's holding me back? And when you start with yourself, 80% of the time you'll say, well, this is my great problem. Only 20% of the reasons you are not achieving your goals are on the outside, so always start with yourself. Now, the fifth key is to identify the knowledge, information, and skills you will need to achieve your goal. Remember, to achieve a goal that you've never achieved before, you're going to have to learn things and do things you've never done before. You cannot achieve anything more than you're achieving today with the same level of knowledge and skill that you have today. If you could, you'd already have done it. So identify the skills that you'll have to develop to be in the top 10% of your field. Identify the most important skill, and then identify the number one skill. Now, here's a great discovery. Your weakest key skill sets the height of your income and your success. Your weakest key skill, and improving or bringing up that one weak skill or acquiring that one weak skill will enable you to make more progress than any other factor at the moment. You can make more progress by going to work on the one skill that is holding you back more than any other factor. So ask this question. What one key skill, if you developed and did it in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact on your life? Whatever the skill, write it down and work on it every day. Number 6, identify the people whose help and cooperation you will require to achieve your goal. Remember, nobody does it alone unless you run a shoe shine stand or deliver papers. To be successful, you need the help of lots of people. Make a list of every person in your life that you'll have to work with or work around to achieve your goal. Start with the members of your family whose cooperation and support you will require, especially your spouse. List your boss and co-workers and subordinates, because you'll have to work with them and they'll have to work with you to be successful. Once you've identified the key people whose help you will require, ask yourself this question. What's in it for them? Be a go-giver rather than a go-getter. Number 7, make a plan. And plans are very simple because what you do is you just make a list. You start off with a list of everything you'll have to do. You already identified it. You know what the goal is. You've broken the goal down into sub-deadlines. You've identified the knowledge you'll require, the obstacles you'll have to overcome, the people whose cooperation you'll require. Make a list of everything you'll have to do and then organize the list, first of all, by sequence, which means what comes first. What do you have to do before you do something else? And then second of all, by priority, which is what is more important and what is less important. And once you have a list organized by sequence and priority, you have a plan. Now you have the two great requirements for winning. You have a goal and a plan. Now, does it take a little while to do this? Yes. But once you have the goal and the plan, the very act of completing them programs them into your subconscious mind. We, in our advanced coaching programs, we teach people to write down and create goals and plans. And then once they've done it all, 90 days later they come back. I say, how many of you reviewed your goals and plans in the last 90 days? Most of them didn't do it. How many of you achieved your goals and plans? All of them. But the most amazing darn thing, because by writing them out, they've programmed them into their subconscious mind, which passes it off like a baton to the superconscious, which then works 24 hours a day to bring it into their lives.
and the most remarkable coincidences occur. Things start to happen. The phone rings. People sit down next to you socially and give you advice. Your boss gives you opportunities. Doors open. You get intuitions and insights, the most phenomenal things, because you've programmed yourself with a goal and a plan. That's why people with goals and plans, according to the best research, accomplish 10 times as much as people without goals and plans. 1,000% more than people without. So write down what you want and make it clear so that the universe can help you get it. Emmett Fox, who I mentioned before, wrote a book many years ago called The Mental Equivalent. Actually, it wasn't even a book, it was a pamphlet. And this little pamphlet is one of the most profound pieces of writing in history. It's just unbelievable. And what it does is basically says is you have one responsibility to your universe, is to create within your mind the mental equivalent of what you would like to see on the outside. And what you want will appear on the outside by the law of cause and effect, belief, expectation, attraction, correspondence, and so on. Your job is to give to the universe an absolutely crystal clear picture of the goal that you want, which you can only get by thinking it through and writing it down.
Practice visualization on your goals.
I was a big dreamer, you know, and so my job was to clean these 7 floors between Friday and Sunday. So every time I would go to the 7th floor was the CEO's office. So I would bust in like I was the CEO. I'm dreaming like I'm the CEO now. And who would have ever thought? I've been blessed. And here I am the CEO of my own company.
See your goal as if it were already achieved. Imagine yourself enjoying the accomplishment of the goal. If it's a car, imagine yourself driving this car. In fact, go down and test drive the perfect car for you. Get a feeling for it, smell it, take a picture next to it. Take a picture of yourself being in the driver's seat of the car that you want to own and look at that picture on a regular basis. Visualization is perhaps the most powerful faculty available to you to help you achieve your goals faster than you ever thought possible. When you use a combination of clear goals combined with visualization and emotionalization, you activate your superconscious mind. Your superconscious mind then solves every problem on the way to your goal. Your superconscious mind activates the law of attraction and begins attracting into your life people and circumstances and ideas and resources that will help you to achieve your goals even faster.